بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. All the praise and all the glory is due to Allah, and I bear witness that there is no God but Allah and that Muhammad is his last prophet and messenger. May the blessings and peace of Allah be upon our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his family, his companions, and those who followed his path up to the day of judgment. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. My dear respected brothers and sisters, this is our fourth session on how to develop an ideal Muslim character. In this session we are talking about another type of struggle. So we added to the qualities of a believer that he is a strong fighter. He is a strong fighter against the Shaitan. Now the game is not over, because he has to strive also against his own desires. And this is a part of the test. Life is a big test. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has built in humans inclinations and love for certain things. And those things, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made his love for those certain elements because they are the main cause of his existence, the continuity of his existence. So the drive must be very strong to maintain the continuity of the human race. But at the same time, they have been every single bounty that Allah has given to humans, it includes a test. It includes a test, a trial. So in today's session, or in this last session, we are talking about 6 main topics. We need to cover them, inshallah. How to overcome our evil desires. Number 1, I think we need to resist the dunya. How to resist the dunya. And number 2, how to use your time in the best advantage possible. Because the statement of our Salaf al-Salih is نفسك إن لم تشغلها بالحق شغلتك بالباطل. Yourself, if it is not occupied with something good, definitely it will go to do something wrong. Number 3 is mastering ikhlas. How to master ikhlas. Because a sincere heart doesn't have room for those desires. It will burn out easily. Number 3, vigilance against sins. Number 5, disassociation from the world, which is commonly known in Islamic terminology as zuhd. And finally, a word about the believer consistently seeks to improve. Resisting the dunya. There are certain facts that must be put in the mind of a believer. The first one, that one of the most valuable blessings Allah has given man is time and health. The Prophet ﷺ has said, according to the authentic hadith of Ibn Abbas, there are 2 blessings which many people lose. Many people lose, and they underestimate: health and free time. I think we can assuredly, we can make sure of this. If we see, subhanallah, sometimes 2 hours are passing 2 hours in front of the WhatsApp and Facebook a day. People who are addicted to the social media, wasting plenty of their time in games, in fruitless activities, things which are irrelevant to them. Subhanallah. Health and time and free time. نعمتان مغبون فيهما كثير من الناس الصحة والفراغ. The Prophet's advice regarding time. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, man's feet, and this is very important reminder for all of us. Man's feet will not move on the day of resurrection before he is being asked on his life. How did he consume it? His knowledge. What did he do with it? His wealth. How did he earn? How did he dispose of it? And about his body, how did he wear it out? 4 basic questions, 2 of them on his money. From where and how did he spend it? Very critical questions before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And a person, his man's feet will not move, which means that he will not go to the next stage of going to the Jannah or the hellfire, except after he provides convincing, clear answers about those 4 basic things before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in a long standing. The Prophet ﷺ also reminded us of grabbing 5 before 5. Grab 5 things before 5 others. Your youth before your decrepitude. Your health before your illness. Your wealth before your poverty. Your leisure before your work. And your life before your death. اغتنم خمسا قبل خمس. Take advantage of those things. Now you have time, you have health, you have money, you have a lot of things. Use them before things change. Imam al-Ghazali has a piece of advice regarding time. Subhanallah. He said, you should not neglect your time or use it haphazardly. On the contrary, you should bring yourself to account. Structure your litanies and other practices during each day and night, and assign to each period a fixed and a specific function. This is how to bring out the spiritual blessing or barakah in each period. If you leave yourself adrift, aimlessly, wandering as cattle do, not knowing how to occupy yourself at every moment, your time will be lost. It's nothing other than your life. And your life is the capital that you make use of to reach perpetual facility in the proximity of God the Exalted. Each of your breaths is a priceless jewel, since each of them is irreplaceable. They cannot be replaced, and once gone can never be retrieved. Do not like the deceived fools who are joyous because each day their wealth increases while their life shortens. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called about the day of judgment a very strange name. He called it يوم التغابن. What is at-taghabun? Is fraud, deception. When you buy a commodity for a very high price it doesn't deserve. This is the same. The people in the day of judgment will have taghabun, because they spend very precious time in doing very little worthless things, and they were stationed before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala having no good deeds to save them. Or they spend their time in making minor things which are not given priorities. So ذَلِكَ يَوْمُ التَّغَابُنِ. Everybody will feel that he was deceived, because he spent the precious thing for nothing. What good is an increase in wealth when life grows ever shorter? Therefore, be joyous only for an increase in knowledge or in good works, for they are your 2 companions who will accompany you in your grave when your family, wealth, children and friends stay behind. Precious advice, subhanAllah. There is a very valuable book which is written by Sheikh Abu Ghudda, Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda. It's called قيمة الزمن عند العلماء, the value of time by the scholars, or the value of time in the minds of scholars. He provides tens of stories which are amazing. Yes, subhanallah, how did they respond to people who want to waste their time? And one of them, he wants to talk to somebody, and he says, please, can I ask you? And he says, no, only in one time, if you just keep the sun from moving, I can come and stand with you. Others, subhanallah, they took it serious, very serious. They noticed that Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab, that he never ever talks except in dhikr, in dua, in answering a question, in reciting Quran. This is the way that they led their lives. Yani al-Imam al-Shafi'i, just himself, he had 20 diseases. Imam al-Shafi'i had 20 diseases. And he left a legacy for the ummah, which is still up till now, we still have mercy on making dua for Imam al-Shafi'i. And Abdul Rahman ibn Mahdi, the well-known scholar of hadith, he said, Wallahi, I never ever leave a sajda in my prayer except I make dua for Imam al-Shafi'i. He is his companion, because of the great benefits he made for the ummah, because their times were blessed. How? Because they implemented these advices. Number one, don't like the ha'imun ala wajhi, don't go aimlessly. Put your tasks, know your goal, occupy yourself with what is best. Move from a task to another task. Move from a ilm to another ilm, to get from a good deed to another good deed. Don't let a gap, don't leave a gap, because this is a crack for the shaitan to go in and for your nafs. So the first point of controlling our desires is we have energy and we have time. We have resources and we have time. So we must, and time is a part of our resources. The best way to overcome our desires is to occupy this time and these resources and direct them in the proper way. نفسك إن شغلتها بالحق وإلا شغلتك بالباطل. You have to put it in the right direction, otherwise it will mislead you and you will do other things. The second element of how to overcome those desires is mastering sincerity. Mastering ikhlas. What is ikhlas? Ikhlas is translated as sincerity. It is to complete actions, whether they be internal or external, desiring the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now, is taking the desire to be directed for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The concept of Islam, that it doesn't look that the person engages war against himself. It's not this matter. It's not a matter of getting rid of these desires. No, Islam is very realistic. Because the Prophet ﷺ, for example, when he talked about a person who keeps looking at here and there, at women, so the Prophet ﷺ gave him a very eloquent solution. When you have that feeling of, if you would like to drive this desire in haram, go to your home, your wife, because whatever you have with your wife is the same what you have with the others. Go, and so the Islam does not say to eradicate this type of desire. No, give you the alternative. Go and make zawaj, marriage. You get it in the halal and normal way. Right? So this is the methodology of the Prophet ﷺ. Now, if you would like to properly use these things, so look, number one, purify your intention of making things purely in ikhlas. Again, ikhlas means disregarding any external factors. the eyes of the people and whether or not they acknowledge your deed or not. And cancellation and concentration instead on the Lord who is watching over you. So ikhlas means disregarding any other external factor of the deed, overlooking the eyes of people, disregarding their acknowledgement or disacknowledgement of your deed, and focusing on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the one who watches you. And another scholar said about ikhlas that it's closing all the doors and opening only one gate which accesses you to Allah. So He is the one to look at you and the one who properly appreciate your deed. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talked about ikhlas in so many ayat. But one example for them is this ayah about the righteous slaves of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are the one who fulfill their vows and fear a day whose evil will be widespread. يوفون بالنذر ويخافون يوما كان شره مستطيرا ويطعمون الطعام على حبه مسكينا ويتيما وأسيرا. And they give food in spite of love for it to the needy, the orphan and the captive. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about captives that they were fighting with them in the battle.